I chose a historical book, Hansel and Gretel. Now, Hansel and Gretel was based on a Lexile reading level in Scholastic for 5th graders. So for 5th graders, it would definitely be an appropriate read aloud. Hansel and Gretel is based on a true story. Its original theme is greed. Brothers Grimm decided to make a fun twist for it so that readers of a younger age level, like 5th graders, would be more intrigued to read it. It's based on a true story of a woodcutter, his wife, and 2 kids, Hansel and Gretel. Now, it is their stepmom, not their biological mom. And at the time, it's a war, and a famine overcomes the country, so they don't have enough food to feed everybody. So the wife convinces the husband it would be best to leave the children out in the woods to fend for themselves, basically so they don't take food out of her mouth. The woodcutter don't want to go along with it, but he does. And he allows the wife to take the kids out into the woods to fend for themselves. Now, Hansel and Gretel were smart. They try to fill their pockets full of pebbles and stones, but they're too big and too heavy. So instead they take breadcrumbs and make a trail so that they can find their way back home. Now, out in the woods, after the wife leaves them there, they find their way back home once, and again she takes them back out into the woods. So for the second time, they realize they're going to have to fend for their own, so they find a hut, and the hut is made of chocolate cookies and candy, and inside they find a witch. Now, the witch appears to be nice, and at first the witch feeds them, and they do not realize what the witch is doing. Towards the middle to end, Hansel and Gretel both realize that the witch is trying to fatten them up. So after Hansel and Gretel gains enough weight and they are full of sweets, the witch decides to light the oven, and she is going to cook Hansel and Gretel. So Hansel tricks the witch and throws her into the fire, into the oven, and cooks her instead. After that, Hansel and Gretel search through the house, and they find gold and jewels, and they find valuables. And instead of being able to use the breadcrumbs to find their way home because the birds had ate them, the birds actually helped them find their way back home. And it's been years, so whenever they get home, they find that their stepmother has passed away, and it is just their father. Their father is extremely happy to see them, and he is very regretful of the decision that he helped make. And he's very sympathetic and sorrowful, and he apologizes to Hansel and Gretel. And Hansel and Gretel reveals the jewels and gold to them, and they all live happily ever after. I think this would be an appropriate read aloud because it explains greed, it explains the children fending for themselves, and it tells a story and explains a lesson.